Hi, this is Steve. I want to show you how to set up accounts payable and accounts receivable so you can use Dynamics GP to better run your business. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at setting up aging periods for both AP and AR, setting up vendor classes and customer classes, and also setting up default accounts. So let's take a look at it. So first let's take a look at accounts payable. So what I want to do is go to the purchasing area page, and I'll take a look at the setup area. I can scroll down here and see the setup area here, and we're going to open up payable setup. So here I've got a couple things I can do. First of all, I can set up the aging period for payables. Here you can see I've assigned already 4 different periods, but I can have up to 7 if I want to. And I can specify the time of the period by clicking the end date of that particular period. I can also change the name of that particular period. So this gives me some flexibility in setting up the aging for accounts payable. Also, let's take a look at vendor classes. If I click on the vendor class button down here, it's going to bring up the classes that I've assigned in accounts payable. And this is an example of one right here. Let's move it up a little bit. So setting up vendor classes is a good idea because it makes it easier to add new vendors in. It also makes it easy to change vendors or a class of vendors if you need to make a change, for example, say on the payment terms. It allows you to group vendors together. It allows you to also make printing a little easier. So if you want to print for a particular subgroup of your vendors, you can assign them to a class and then use that class when you do printing. So there's a couple things here that you want to pay attention to. One thing is that when you set up a class, you want to mark at least one of them as a default. This makes it easier to add additional classes in the future. Also, you want to make sure that you mark maintain history on all your classes. This is important because this is kind of a weak spot in Dynamics GP. You want to make sure that you check this so that the system will keep track of your history in your system. The next thing you want to do is go to the accounts area and to make sure that you've got GL accounts set up for all the different types of transactions that you'll be posting in Dynamics GP. So you can see here I've got most of these set up. You want to set up default accounts here at this level, and this makes it easier to process transactions in your GP system if you've got these default account numbers already set up. Next thing I want to do is look at the accounts receivable setup. So let's go to the sales area page here. And we'll go down to the setup window and click on receivables. So receivables is like payables in that you can define your aging periods, and you can see here I've got aging periods set up for 7 different periods. And again, I can change the length of those periods by clicking on the end date here. I can also change the name of that period. Let's take a look at classes. So I've set up a number of customer classes, and like payables, it's important to do. Number one, I want to make sure that I have a default class set up so it makes it easier to add new classes into the future. Also, I want to make sure that I check these boxes down here at the bottom so that I've got calendar year, fiscal year, transaction, distribution to maintain history. That's very important in your system, so make sure those are checked. And then also for accounts, make sure that you've got default account set up for all these different types of transactions that may be processed within Dynamics GP. Again, it makes it easier to process transactions in GP. You can always change the transaction distribution at the transaction level. Make sure you have the defaults in it. It'll make a lot better experience for you. So these are just the basic setups that you should do in accounts payable and accounts receivable in Dynamics GP. Take a little time to set these up and you'll have a much better experience with Dynamics GP.